It is time. The SBR Betting Roundtable. We're hitting on MLB, NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, also a new section. Favorite sport to bet and why? Try to get an edge on the bookmakers. Next to Donnie Rightside, Ian Cameron, I am Drew Martin. Guys, got a packed show. It's playoff time, full MLB card. Excited to get your opinions on what to bet for the watchers. Start off with Ian Cameron. Find his work at sportsmemo.com, on Twitter at Babano. Ian, welcome in. How you doing today, buddy?
Yeah, doing good, Drew. I heard news that it might be a little bit warmer finally next week, so I'm looking forward to that. We need the warm weather to finally come up here in the Northeast. It's been too long. Hopefully that's the case. We've got a lot of things to talk about on the show today. Baseball's in full swing, been that way now for a few weeks. NHL, NBA playoffs, also hot and heavy in the first round. We'll be talking a little bit about that on the show. And hey, 2 months from now, I'll have some football to watch and bet when the CFL starts. So it's a good time to be alive as a sports bettor, Drew.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. And you bring up the weather getting warmer, that ball flying out obviously doesn't have a lot to do with NHL or NBA playoffs, but somebody that knows a lot about MLB, betting on it, Donnie Rightside. Find his work at DonnieRightside.com, on Twitter, RightSideVP. Donnie, welcome in, man.
Hey, man, good to be back another week on the show. You're right. This cold weather stretch up in the Northeast, which, again, you guys don't have any problems down there in Costa Rica. I'll tell you one guy who's having a lot of problems with this issue is Giancarlo Stanton up in Yankee Stadium. He must be praying for that 85-degree weather in that little bandbox up there, get some humidity so he can start launching some bombs out there, because making all that money in the Bronx doesn't fly when you're striking out damn near every single time at the plate. But no, it's a great time right now. NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball. Also keep in mind, less than maybe a week and a half, we had the NFL draft, which is always a lot of fun. Love the move that they put that into prime time so we can each dissect every one of those first round picks that we always like to go crazy on, and a lot of intrigue at the top five of the draft as well. Great time to be a sports fan now.
Yeah, NFL draft right around the corner. And Donnie, actually, you bring up a good point. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton, I was just thinking about that the other night. A California kid, then went to South Florida, now up there in the Northeast with cold. Do you think it's a weather issue? He's got a bunch of money in his pocket. What's going on there?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the same thing that we talk. Like, we've all played sports throughout our life, and it's just when we play baseball, it's that time of the season. Especially like maybe Drew. I mean, you grew up in Florida, down south, so you didn't have the same issue. But Ian's up north, I'm up north. Like when you would start even in like t-ball all the way through Little League baseball, those early March days, like it's just a malaise. It's cloudy, it's drizzly, it's cold. Nobody really feels like doing that much. And then all of a sudden, when you hit mid-April, spring comes in May, the games get better, the kids are a little bit better. That you can get more into a groove there. It's just that cold weather now, just stunting a lot of things across Major League Baseball. But you're right, guys that aren't used to playing in snow, we always laugh at Drew. In the Miami Hurricanes, like I say, go play Pitt in middle of November. If it's 45 degrees, you would think they were playing in Siberia the way they're dressed. Just not used to it.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, that Miami versus Pitt game this year was a big. They had trouble in the beginning anyway. A bunch of South Florida kids, and it's something I bring into MLB as well. When you get a Caribbean pitcher pitching up in 40-degree weather, it's something that he's just not used to. So the velocity's down. I mean, Ian, is that something you bring into your handicapping?
It's a great angle. It's something that's really worth considering and at least looking into to see if some of these Puerto Rican pitchers, Dominican pitchers, anywhere from that part of the world, that Central America, how are they going to pitch? Cuban pitchers, if there are any? Yeah, you want to see if they're going to be able to handle the elements. This is atypical of anything they're used to pitching in. Let's put it bluntly. That's exactly what we're seeing with a lot of these guys, and they tend to struggle. With Giancarlo Stanton, obviously his beautiful, wonderful, this whole just they were waxing poetic about what a great marriage this was going to be for Stanton and the New York Yankees and this great run to the World Series. And what do you see? You see him striking out left and right. You see him popping up in the infield. You see him slamming the bat down, getting booed mercilessly at Yankee Stadium. Hey, hitting 50-some home runs for a lousy team with no pressure on your shoulders in the Miami Marlins last year, that's one thing. Now you got to do it in a big spot with big expectations. Everyone thinks you should be in the World Series, if not win it this year. Whole different set of expectations surrounding Giancarlo Stanton. Pressure's a bitch. He's finding that out in a real hurry.
Well said, Ian. Hey, guys, we got the chat box going off right now. Hugh, Carolina, Matt, what's up, guys? Nasty, Troy, Ace Farmer in the house, Kyle. Feel free to chime in, whatever you guys want to hear. Also, if you're liking the content, please give us the thumbs up sign. We got bet on fade teams, then hitting NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, the new section, favorite sport to bet and why, and the MLB card plus best bets is what's on the docket for today's show. So we'll start off bet on fade teams. Any sport, anywhere you want to go. Ian, what do you got for bet on or fade teams?
You know what? I'm going to actually go hockey with this, even though I usually go baseball, since it's every sport, because we saw what they did last night. They wrapped up their first round series in 4 straight games against the Los Angeles Kings. And I think they're, because of the fact they got out of that series, and that's the key to me. I was not sure how to handicap or treat this team going into the second round, but because they got out of that series with the LA Kings so quickly, did away with them in 4 straight, that's going to conserve energy. They weren't as physically beat up or taxed in that first round as maybe they could have been if that series goes 6 or 7. The Vegas Golden Knights, to me, are going to remain, for me, a bet-on team in the Stanley Cup playoffs, regardless of whether they face San Jose or Anaheim in the second round. This is a 4-line team that comes at you in waves, possesses the puck, can score on all 4 lines. But what's really impressed me about Vegas is their defensive game. All 6 defensemen were spectacular in the first round. Their ability to just clog up the neutral zone, play defensive-minded playoff hockey. I was not convinced they could do it initially. They sure showed it in this first round. And then you've got Marc-Andre Fleury in net, who was beyond spectacular in between the pipes. Something like a .977 save percentage, 126 of 130 shots stopped in the entire series. So to me, Vegas has done what they needed to do. Get out of this series in a hurry. They're going to still be relatively fresh going into the second round and very much live to at least get to the Western Conference Final, if not further.
Yeah, Ian, I saw you put out a free play on Vegas. That was a absolutely right side call. And in hockey, is it something, maybe betting angles I'm just trying to bring in here, having a lot of days off before your next round, like your next opponent in the playoffs, could that actually hurt you? Or no, you think it's all about, just kind of regaining, I guess, your health, your energy, and getting ready for round 2?
Yeah, it might hurt in game 1, and sometimes you do see that. But for the length of the series, no. I mean, you might have some game 1 rust or a game 1 situation where you're just not playing well. Things aren't going well cohesively because of the extended layoff. But other than that, it's not really a big deal for the length of the series. And I think for Vegas, the extra rest is a benefit instead of a hindrance because it's a smaller team. All right, and if it's a long series that they had played in the first round against LA, you're looking at all of these smaller bodies getting beat up. The welts pile up. The bruises pile up. The wear and tear on the body piles up if you have to play 6 or 7 games. Not the case with Vegas, and for a team that's got a few smaller forwards than a lot of other teams do, not quite as big as some other teams in the NHL, having this extra rest and not getting beat up as much as they could have in the first round is a big-time benefit for them moving forward.
Good stuff, Ian. Hey, we got Hugh in the chat box saying Triggs. You know what that means. Donnie Rightside. What do you got for fade or bet on teams? Which way you want to go with this, man?
Yeah, fade and bet. I mean, you're looking at the teams, now you're starting to round into a little bit of form. If you're betting on teams, we talk about riding the hot wave. Jeff and I talk about it all the time, looking at like the New York Mets or even the Boston Red Sox at this point, the LA Angels, because you're still getting some decent prices. The one interesting thing yesterday, which I saw a lot of people doing, and hey, if they were rightfully so in doing it, I wasn't ready to jump on the bandwagon with Ohtani yesterday. It wasn't so much it was a fade on Ohtani that he's not going to pitch that well. Looked like he had multiple blisters on his pitching hand right away, 2 innings, 60-some pitches, and the Boston Red Sox run away with that one. So I don't know how much of a bounce back you would have next time he sees the mound. I don't know if he's probably going to go in 5 days, might have a little bit of an extended layoff to get those blisters handled. Because if we know anything, if you were a pitcher growing up or even watching Major League Baseball over the past couple of years, remember like Jake DeGrom, it's hard to shake those blisters because of how much pressure you put on those pitches with your pitching hand when you're throwing like a slider or a curveball. That's going to reoccur. It's going to be interesting to see how that pops up for Ohtani. But hey, good thing you have a two-way player, right? Major League Baseball. If he can't pitch, at least you can throw him out there possibly to hit for a few games because he is a pretty good athlete at that point. But one of those bet on teams still, not so much a team itself, but just riding the hot hand through April. As I said again, once we hit May, June, July, and August, teams know they suck. They're not going to play that well. Teams that are good and making a pennant run, they're going to be motivated to get to the ballpark. Ride the hot streaks through April. Pick your spots there. Try to take some dogs. And if we're talking about dogs, How about your Miami Marlins down there, Drew, last night going what? Plus 315, plus 320 in some outlets yesterday, pulling down a 9-1 victory in the Bronx yesterday. That's a sweet plus money win.
Yeah, no, I saw it on Twitter at Rightside VP. You tweeted that out as far as what a plus 300 dog winning. I mean, you really think that is a record? I couldn't.
Yeah, I wish somebody had that. I mean, I'm sure somebody's won that before, but we've seen, plus 300 dogs go down 2-1, 3-1, close games, extra innings. But I'm not so sure we've seen a favorite that high get bounced. And it's funny because, we always tweet about, you tweet the Maloinks out there, you jinx the gods. I didn't have any money on the game, but it's funny. There's 2 outs and a strike or 2 on the batter. So I tweet out, when's the last time somebody won 9-0? Within 30 seconds, the Yankees hit a solo home run, which I got a pretty good laugh at it. But still an 8-run win by a plus 300 dog is pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, I never see it. I mean, Ian, any sport you ever see anything like that as far as plus 300 dog winning outright by, 8 runs or the equivalent in another sport?
Yeah, I mean, he's something. Buffalo against San Jose for some reason in hockey's been a big underdog that's repeatedly cashed in. I don't know why, but Buffalo's done very well in San Jose. Last night, give them Miami Marlins credit. Look, Tanaka had absolutely nothing in terms of quality arsenal. He was wild. He was hitting guys. He was walking guys. He was just not finding the strike zone, getting smacked when he was finding the strike zone. It was just one of those perfect storms. And the New York Yankees have had the odd clunker this season, even though they're, flirting around that 500 mark. But, the Miami Marlins of all teams to do it's a little surprising. And that's another reason why don't you ever rush out there and lay more than minus 300. Don't do it, okay? Because you lose a bet like that. And there's going to be Joe Blow and Joe Public out there, someone that's going to lay that monstrous price with the New York Yankees against the lowly, woe-begotten Marlins and saying, we can't lose this bet. Well, now you've just sunk yourself minus 3.6 units in the hole. And now you got to win maybe 4 straight times to maybe make up for that. So good on you. Just don't do it, please. I'm begging you.
And Ian, for the watchers out there, do you have maybe a threshold of what you won't lay more than in baseball?
Well, it's in every sport. I mean, really won't go more than minus 150. To be honest with you, in baseball, hockey, and the money line sports, I just won't go much higher than that. I'll look run line and puck line in the 2 sports if I want to get at the favorite and lay the run and a half or the goal and a half in the NHL if it's a higher than minus 150 favorite. But I just won't do it minus 150. They could have all the edges in the world. They could have a lineup edge. They could have a bunch of guys injured on the other side. They could have a massive starting pitching bullpen edge. I'm still not going more than minus 150 because you just lose one of those, you're now climbing up a mountain trying to make up for it. And it's all about long-term profits in this industry. You can't set yourself behind, setting yourself up for a potential loss, laying a massive price.
And Donnie, what about you? Do you have a threshold that you won't go higher than?
Yeah, baseball, he's pretty good on that one. Baseball season usually 150 or below, but I usually like to get in that, 125 to 120 area and try to find that mismatch there. Because again, you're talking from a different aspect with like Drew, yourself, Ian, and myself, big man on campus, whoever. Like we're paid to give out information. A lot of us have side services. It just wouldn't be fair. Like imagine if you just came on every day and say, hey, my play of the day is the Yankees minus 300. Why would somebody pay or even listen to that or even add any injective? What people pay you for is to try to return on investment with your money, but also trying to find those edges where if you lose, it's minus 110, it's minus 115. You can live the fight another day. It's hard to get splashed down and say, you know what, easy winner last night on the Yankees. Let's just ride it again and take minus 315 on that game. When you pay for advice, you're trying to look for advice out there. Anybody can go out there and say, boy, I really like the St. Louis Cardinals at minus 200 tonight or whatever it would be. You try to find the additives and sort of limit the damage, and that's fine. And also, I like when I see around on Twitter like, oh man, it's funny. You root for the parlays to go down with the Yankees or minus run line because you say, you know what, you deserve that loss or whatever it would be. First of all, I have to question your head and your betting methods. What value does it take to put a money line parlay and include the Yankees at minus 330 or minus 340? It doesn't even add any value to your parlay. What are you even doing that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and especially in that parlay thing. And Donnie, Ian brought up a point of maybe laying it on the run line if you like the big favorite. Is that something you would do? Do you bet run lines?
No, I don't really bet run lines. What I do like a lot of the time is almost if you can find some value on a run line in the first 5 innings, I think is a little more advantageous than the minus 1.5. The reason why I say that is the first 5 innings, everybody's going to get continuous at bats, right? So if you have, let's just say the Yankees in Yankee Stadium minus 1.5, and they end up winning the game by 1, or they're up 2 and somebody gets on second base, they don't care about that run in the 9th inning because they're focused about the batter at the plate. That's not the same thing when you bet the first 5 innings because the game's not over. You're still jockeying for position. And yes, if the Yankees are up in the bottom of the ninth inning, or excuse me, they're not going to be up in the bottom of the ninth inning. No matter what the score, the Yankees will be up in the bottom of the fifth inning to try to cover that run line of 0.5 or more. Also use it to your advantage. I used to do it a lot with the Phillies, guys, back in the day. I'm talking like maybe 3-4 years ago when the Phillies were terrible but still had Cole Hamels. A lot of times you could get Cole Hamels on the mound, run line plus a half a run, like minus 110 or plus 105 going against good baseball teams. You say, you know what? If Hamels goes out there and does what he does back in the day, you're going to be in it. Just maybe need to scrape across a run or two. But look for those type of advantages there. I'm not a big run line guy full game, but I can see the value a little bit more in the run line over the first half because, again, you don't lose that last at bat.
Yeah, great. No, great point there, Donnie. And Ian, last question towards you on run lines. I've talked to Matt Holt about this. Donnie brought it up with the home team not being able to bat if they have the leads, so you're getting only 8 at bats to 9 at bats. Will you lay a run line with a home team?
That's a great point. I was going to bring that up just before you actually asked that question. I am more prone to lay the run line on the road team than I am the home team for that very reason. I don't want to get gypped that 8 innings where I don't have the home team coming up in the bottom of the ninth because they got the lead going into the top of the ninth and they hang on and you don't have that bottom of the ninth from the home team to get you some more runs. So yeah, I mean, I will in some cases lay with the home team. I know I did that with Houston a while back against the Texas Rangers. And sometimes there's good opportunities there, but usually I will lay more often the run and a half with the road team because again, you're always going to get the road team batting in the ninth inning. Not always going to get that with the home team if they're leading in that ninth.
Ian, real quick question there. I know you're a big hockey guy. NHL playoffs are going on, and more people focus on gambling on the NHL. One question for you while we're talking run lines. Let's talk puck lines at this point as well. Is it advantageous? Because I see a lot. I mean, you're going to see some higher spreads. I mean, I even think Nashville was up there in the 300s for a couple games, maybe the first 2 games at home in Nashville. Is it advantageous or is it better off to take a puck line in hockey than maybe even betting it straight up? I mean, forget if you're taking the dog, maybe plus 125 or plus 130, because the same thing can come into effect because usually if you're going to win by a goal, unless we see a lot of overtime games, don't get me wrong there, but in regulation, the other team, if they're down 1 or 2, is going to pull the goalie. And sometimes we see it, Ian, with like 3 minutes to go. So it opens up the other end where you can get that easy dunk to win by 2. Is that advantageous to take puck lines in hockey as opposed to like, a minus 175 or a minus 180 as a favorite?
Sometimes it can, Donnie. Sometimes it can. What I sometimes would like to do is sometimes with these underdogs that I think are really live in a game, I'll go the alternative puck line, which is lay the goal and a half with the underdog and get a really good price with them and go really big, go to the bargain bin. And go really big time value hunting with some of those. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. You're going to get empty net scenarios in a 1-goal game in the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, and all you need is that empty net goal, and you've got and you're live all of a sudden to cash a puck line laying a goal and a half. The counterpoint to that is there's a lot of 1-goal games in the Stanley Cup playoffs. There can be, and sometimes you just don't have that opportunity. And we've seen, unfortunately, and I know Alex B. Smith, my pal, has been very frustrated about it. All the missed empty nets. There's been a ton of chances at empty nets, and so many teams have missed them. Saw Winnipeg miss a bunch. We saw, the team last night miss a ton of chances at the empty net. It was, I think it was Winnipeg again, and then they finally scored one. Vegas missed a couple of cracks at the empty net. So again, you're also dealing with situations where, I don't know, sometimes these teams are just content to get the puck down the ice instead of actually hit the empty net when they're up by a goal. Some teams, they really go for the empty net. Some, they just, let's get the puck the hell down the ice. Who cares about if we put in the empty net goal? Let's just get this puck out of our own zone. So yeah, I do think though in some circumstances, Donnie, as you said, looking for that puck line is something that you can get from a value standpoint.
No, it's great. It's a great point. Also, Ian, Drew, I'm sorry to cut you off there because I love hockey. Flyers in the playoffs finally. We'll see what happens tonight in that instance. But also taking a look, Ian, do you bet any games in regulation? Because I often see, if let's just say the New York Rangers were minus 180, but if you take them in regulation to win, you might get those odds drop down to 130. I don't know if you do that because I usually see you do pretty much standard stuff. Any thoughts on just taking teams in regulation or, again, in the playoffs where everything is so tight? Does that make sense? Because a lot of them we see, and even in the Washington series, 3 games go to OT.
It depends on the series, exactly, because Washington-Columbus, you're not going to see me taking a regulation bet the way that series is played out. It has been extremely close. It has been extremely tight. Every game has gone to overtime. Whereas, for instance, Anaheim-San Jose tonight, the late game which is San Jose minus 175 to minus 180 right now. And we're here we go again, much like last night with Vegas up 3-0 against LA, San Jose up 3-0 against Anaheim, teams up 3-0 in game 4 of the playoffs in the NHL. They've closed out the series and swept the series in 4 straight games 61% of the time. So that's the angle with San Jose there. San Jose regulation makes a ton of sense to me. I mean, we haven't seen an overtime game yet in this series. San Jose's been clearly the better of these two teams through the first 3 games. You're going to get a much reduced price on a regulation bet, much closer to even money with San Jose to win this game in regulation time. That's one that stands out just as an example on tonight's card, where if you go the regulation bet route on San Jose, you get a lot more value for your buck than just laying that money line for the full game.
Yeah, good puck line breakdown there, guys. We also got G8 in the chat box chiming in. In playoffs, though, the players are trying to kill the time more than taking a chance at icing the empty netter. That's something you agree with, Ian?
Bingo. Yeah, some teams do that. There's no question. There's a lot of teams, in fact. They're just, let's get the puck out of the zone. Let's relieve the pressure. If we have to take an icing, so be it. Let's just get the puck out because you're just getting all kinds of pressure going at your goalie. Let's get the puck out. Let's not worry about trying to ice the game with the insurance marker into the empty net. And you get that kind of thought process with a lot of teams, which can be, unfortunately, the bane of your existence if you're laying the goal and a half on a routine basis.
Guys, do you want to throw out anything more on bet on or fade teams before we hit the playoff talk?
No, I mean, just your standard fades. I mean, Cincinnati might pop up here with a win or two, but they don't look like they're going to where. And again, with Miami, if you just fade them because they're an awful team, again, it gets back to the premise, right, Drew, that we talked about. The worst teams in Major League Baseball history are going to win 60 games. Can you imagine that? Like the Marlins out there, as bad as they are, they're going to hover around 60 games. If you could pick the right spot, you're going to hit a jackpot. But the same thing with the bettor's philosophy that you have. It's a lot of stuff that's going to pop up on here. After you watch the Yankees dismantle and annihilate the Marlins, you feel like coming back the very next night against Tanaka in the Bronx and taking the Marlins again? No. But look at that. You came up with a lottery ticket. Sometimes you got to take shots.
No, great point, man. And there can be some plus tickets there when you're taking the shots. But guys, let's get into the playoff talk. We got NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs. I guess we can start off with 60 seconds of Cameron. It's kind of a cool dynamic here. We got Canada, we got the U.S., and we got Costa Rica down here with the sports books all covered. So getting some NHL talk here with Ian, Cameron. Feel free to we'll be a little lenient on the 60 seconds, Ian. So, yeah, man, have at it on whatever way you want to go with the NHL playoffs.
Yeah, I've talked a lot more hockey on this show so far than normal, so I'm going to save the rest of hockey for the Ice Guys, 4 p.m. Eastern this afternoon. Join us then. A little shameless plug there. I'm going to talk baseball. I've got one bet against team I want to bring up for baseball because this is a team that's gotten off to this surprising red-hot start that I am convinced is not going to last. And one of my strong teams I'm actively looking to bet against. In fact, I already have one game in this series already. It's the Pittsburgh Pirates. Okay, you've had a very, very nice start. I understand that. Very impressive. You were 11-4 to begin the season, up 7.5 units of profit, no question. Good job there. But then I start to peel back the layers of this hot start. I'm seeing a team that's 4th in MLB, averaging 5.8 runs per game, but I'm seeing a pitching staff that's got a 4.4 collective ERA. So what that tells me is you're not pitching all that great. You're out hitting your problems right now. And this Pittsburgh Pirates team is not going to be able to out hit their mediocre pitching, at least in my mind, for the long term. I know I like Taillon. Jameson Taillon is the one guy on this Pirates rotation I absolutely would take on my team. I could do without Ivan Nova. I think he's regressing this year. In fact, he's been a bet against candidate for me. There's nothing cool about Chad Kuhl. He's very erratic. Some of these guys on this Pittsburgh Pirates rotation, not guys I trust to keep it up for a long 162 game season. I think this is still a thin rotation. This bullpen outside of Rivero really does concern me. They're capable of giving up runs. I think there's going to be there's already starting to show signs of a downward curve coming for this Pittsburgh Pirates team, and I think it keeps up. Not going to be able to sustain this nice little 3-week start they've had. Pittsburgh bet against for me in MLB.
All right, thanks for that, Ian. Hey, NBA playoffs, Donnie, you want to touch on anything there as far as anything you're looking to bet?
Yeah, just interesting stuff. I know we talk about early, betting strategies and stuff. I'm not an NBA guy. When I like the Sixers and I'm really enjoying the playoff run, even though it's 1-1. We'll see what happens down in Miami the next game. But I always like to talk like betting theories, like the whole zigzag theory. I always think is interesting where, one team that goes up 1-0, the next team is like on a death watch out there. We can't go down 0-2. We have to win this game. But if you watch from the first few series here, those home teams pretty much taking advantage, especially last night. The one outlier out there, which is kind of interesting, is running under the radar, the Pelicans yesterday taking care of Portland once again at home, going up 2-0. I don't think too many teams have come back after losing both games on their home court to start the series to come back and win it. So what an advantage for the Pelicans. Not, even if they had DeMarcus Cousins, which they don't, they're still looking impressive there, especially going into a tough environment up there in the Rose Garden in Portland, or the Moda Center, whatever they call it at this point now. But it's interesting to see the NBA, how teams come back and play, because if we watch even in the Philadelphia series, Drew, game one, Sixers made everything. And I credit Eric Spoelstra for game two. What he did is said, you know what? The only way to stop or slow down the Sixers right now, let's get super physical with them, because the old Rick Pitino philosophy we like to talk about, or Bob Huggins, saying if we be physical in this game, there's no way they can call every foul. Clearly affected the Sixers. They didn't shoot nearly as well from three-point range. Dwayne Wade played a great game. They came up with a really nice win in Philadelphia. I like to see the game-to-game changes in the NBA of how the coaches handle certain situations, because when one game looks like it's dire straits, the next game, you put in a nice game plan, you go out and execute it, you can come down with the W. Also interesting to see how well the Golden State Warriors go down now to San Antonio. Easy 2 wins, first time up there in the Golden State, now going back to San Antonio. How much does San Antonio have left at this point? I talked about it yesterday with Jeff. It just seems a lot like with the whole Kawhi Leonard situation, that maybe they thought if they make the playoffs, maybe Kawhi comes back, gives us that spark, we can make a run. And the minute that he said he was going to be shut down, I believe sometime before game one, where he's not coming back, just seems like it took a little bit of the air out of the bubble for the San Antonio Spurs. I don't know how much they have left or how long that legacy is going to be, but Kawhi Leonard's going to have to get figured out in that spot. But hey, getting back to the Sixers, looking forward to it. Game 3 coming up tomorrow down in Miami. Should be a lot of fun. We're not used to playoffs here in the city of Philadelphia for the Sixers.
Yeah, Donnie, you're talking about the Spurs Warriors there. I mean, in game 2 they were catching 9.5, almost double digits there. It was almost like I saw a lot of people kind of like buying low opportunity on the Spurs. Were you looking that way as well?
Yeah, I mean, when you always see a number like that sticks out. I know a lot of people yesterday were looking at the Wizards with that number, and they almost came back because it seems like everybody makes a run in the NBA. But in the playoffs, again, it's not, power points, pressure points, blowout, or, if you're the away team, you're saying, you know what, I got a game tomorrow night in Sacramento. I'm going to save my guys. It's do or die in the playoffs, so they're going to fight it right all the way down to the wire. But again, you have to make shots if you're going to cover spreads. What did they shoot 14% from 3 in an NBA game? They're lucky they only lost barely by double digits in that game. They could have lost by 25 points. If you make your shots, it goes down. But you're right. You always try to pick your shots there, especially with a team down 0-1. Maybe they come back and play well. If you're going to give an NBA team close to double digits, it's hard to pass up those opportunities. It really is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was looking at it that way. And Ian, one of our friends, one of the best NBA handicappers I know, Aaron Renning, jumped on the Spurs plus 9.5. Made me really think that might be a buy low opportunity on him, maybe even in game 3. I mean, do you agree with that philosophy, and anything else NBA betting wise for you?
And I love ER, Drew. I mean, we know him very well. He's great with NBA and baseball, especially those two sports. But to me, there's nothing I see with San Antonio that makes me interested. Not in the least. I mean, I'm looking at a team that, they've had these Kawhi Leonard stuff surrounding them, swirling around them all season long. This is not anywhere close to the same level of talent that Coach Pop has had in years past. Patty Mills, he's that guy, don't know what you're going to get from him game in, game out. DeJounte Murray. This is LaMarcus Aldridge having to carry this team essentially on their back pretty much game in and game out for San Antonio. And Golden State, even without Steph Curry, Steve Kerr came into this playoffs and he said to his team, we need to fix ourselves on the defensive end of the basketball court if we're going to end up going where we want to go. It was an emphasis. It was a focal point. And boy, this Warriors defense has looked very good through the first 2 games. This is starting to look a little bit to me, Drew, like a series where, like with Vegas, LA, and the NHL, one team's just simply better than the other. One team just simply matches up much better against the other, and we could have another 1-2-3 Cancun situation here on our hands here with Golden State, San Antonio. I think the Warriors could legitimately sweep this team. I had no problem laying 3 with Golden State in game 3 of this series on Thursday night in San Antonio. I think they can take care of business, get it done again, and maybe get this series over with in a real hurry.
Yeah, good stuff in the NBA there on the hardcourt and on the ice there, Ian. Thanks, guys. Donnie Rightside on Twitter at RightsideVP, his work at DonnieRightside.com, and Ian Cameron on Twitter at Babano, and his work at SportsMemo.com. Guys, we're getting into MLB here, but if you're liking the content, please give us a thumbs up sign. And to get the word out on the roundtable every Wednesday, same time, right here, 10 a.m. Eastern on the SBR YouTube channel. If you could retweet on Twitter, share on Facebook, we'd really appreciate it as well. Guys, let's get into a little MLB using the SBR odds. We got Chicago White Sox, Oakland A's here. Fulmer versus Triggs. Yep, I see him smiling right there. Donnie
the campaign
Rightside
is on.
All right, Donnie, you betting on Triggs? You going with Fulmer? Which way you looking to bet this one, buddy?
I mean, yeah, there's no price low enough not to bet Triggs. I mean, as long as you're getting Triggs, minus 300 or left, there's absolute value on just. I mean, forget about what we said in the beginning of the show where you don't want to lay 300. It's okay if you're going to bet Andrew Triggs. We all know the future MVP of the AL, but no, it's a really good spot for him. The one interesting caveat I want to bring about the Oakland A's: how about free ticket nights drawing a big crowd? The one thing I saw a lot of people saying, because I'm not a big emotion guy in gambling. Boy, in the middle of a baseball season, they're going to be so juiced up. There's going to be a lot of people there. I almost thought the opposite yesterday as a contrarian bettor. Like, you know what? Usually we show up to the ballpark, guys. There's like 1,000 people in the stands. Now there's 50 times that amount. Maybe we'll be scared. The Oakland A's played really well last night, and it was a good move putting it against the Chicago White Sox and not a frontline team where they probably would have lost the game at home. But nice win for them. But coming back today with Triggs, I like Triggs. I'm just a big fan of his over the first 5 innings. Before the show, we were talking a little bit about it. Triggs not that guy that's going to go 8 innings, shut you down, 1 hit, 11 strikeouts. He's going to be his crafty self over 5 innings, 5 1/3, 5 2/3 innings. When I looked to bet Andrew Triggs, or if you want to bet Andrew Triggs, the value of the Oakland A's when Triggs pitches is over the first 5 innings. But it's crazy. What are you going to do? Take the money line in the first 5 innings with Triggs at minus 200? There's not even any value in taking Triggs tonight on the run line minus a half, which I would lean on. It's like minus 155 out there. It's crazy. But again, I like to preface it by saying, when you bring in the shirt here, look, when we started the campaign, Triggs was just a lowly guy that we were trying to get there for MVP. After 1 week, he's laying over 200. The power of sportsbookreview.com getting behind Andrew Triggs, and look at the money that's coming in behind it.
Moving the market, Andrew Triggs.
Yeah.
And Ian, you brought up before we got on the show, he doesn't look like much there on the hill. Are you looking to bet him, especially laying minus 200?
No. Definitely not at this price. No, not at all. Disappointed. But that being said, he's probably the better pitcher in this matchup. I mean, have you seen Carson Fulmer this season for the Chicago White Sox? Can't find the strike zone, 7 walks in 9 innings. Horrendous display of control and command from him. He hasn't had any of it, quite frankly. That's a concern. And the fact too, Fulmer, wild. That's not good facing Oakland right now. We've seen Oakland just crush the baseball the first 2 games of this series so far. The one good news for Fulmer is he hasn't given up a home run yet. We know with Oakland, it's a feast or famine lineup. A lot of strikeouts in this lineup, but also a lot of home run power. They're one of those teams that they'll either strike out or hit a home run, 9 times out of 10. So Fulmer's got that going for him, but he's been very wild. Walks have been a big-time problem, especially in his last start. Oakland's feeling it right now offensively, so they should get to Fulmer. Triggs labored early in his last start, really had a tough little beginning to that game, settled in nicely after that against Seattle. 2 runs on 5 hits in this game, 5 innings of work. I'd probably look at an Oakland team total. I'd also lean to the full game going over, but the White Sox bats have been dead. I was very fortunate to cash an over last night with the White Sox. I thought they'd do some damage against Cahill, who had walk issues in AAA, and they couldn't touch Trevor Cahill. That's a bad sign. They've scored 3 runs in their last 3 games combined, the White Sox. So I'm not sure I can rely on their bats right now. So I may go, instead of going full game over 8.5, I think I'd feel a little bit more comfortable just going to the team total aspect, look to Oakland over there.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, the White Sox bats have been bad. Guys, we're hitting on a day game. We got a night game and then a late nighter. And in my opinion, kind of the game of the night here, 9-2-3, 9-2-4, Cleveland to Minnesota. We got Carrasco versus Berrios. Interesting pitching matchup. 2 high ceiling guys. Looks like Cleveland laying -120, -118 at 5 dimes, 7.5 the total, little juice towards the over. Guys, this one down in Puerto Rico, we saw it last night. Looked like a great atmosphere as far as, the fanfare, everything like that. Cleveland jumped on them, and it did land at 7. Most shops had 7.5 the total. A lot of reports out there. I think it was 325 down both lines, and the ball kind of flying out of the ballpark, at least to right field, but it did stay under the total. I actually lost on that game. But I guess, Donnie, how you looking to bet tonight's game, Cleveland, Minnesota?
Yeah, these are, this is really interesting when you take a look at this game, because yesterday there's a lot of philosophies out there. I know how good Kluber is at home. I know how good Kluber is overall, but you sort of take these guys out of their element. You fly them to Puerto Rico. It's not a Major League Baseball stadium. They're not used to the hotels they're staying in or the fanfare coming to it, or maybe the PR they have to do. And again, you're not used to the batting eyes around there. It's one thing when Corey Kluber goes to play the Twins, or he goes to play the Oakland A's or San Francisco Giants, or whoever it is. He's probably been on that mound and pitched before. Not the same in Puerto Rico, but if you tried to fade it out, he was good again yesterday and won. Now you have another 2 guys going to the mound, a little bit younger there, but 2 flamethrowers out there, heavy strikeout pitchers. The reason why it's always hard to take an over with guys that don't pitch to contact, if they're going to strike you out, that's going to be less chances to even move the runner at this point. If I would take either side, or I don't really like to take a side because, again, it's a little bit out of my element. I like the comfort zone. I like hardcore numbers. Say, how well does he pitch in this stadium? How well does he pitch at home or away? But both of these guys technically away in a party atmosphere where there's a lot of pressure on the foreign players. They want to perform in Puerto Rico and get that fan surge. You saw the home run last night by Lindor. It looked like a celebration, like they won the World Series. It means that much to those guys. So maybe putting in a little bit more effort, maybe throwing off their games. I would look to the under in this game just because you have 2 good strikeout pitchers in a rare environment. I'll go under in this one.
Okay, so going under, and JP bringing up a good point. Barrio playing for his family and friends. He bought 500 tickets in the stadium. Yeah. That's according to JP in the chat box. He is from Puerto Rico. Ian, are you bringing that into account, and how are you looking to bet Cleveland, Minnesota?
Well, I that is a good point. I'm bringing that into account, but I'm bringing into account too the fact that Jose Barrios can flat out pitch, and he's a bet on guy for me all the way. He was going into the season. He was last year as well. At times, I know he lost a little bit of it last year at times, but his first full season, he's still getting his feet wet. I think he's really ready to take off and soar and be a really dominant pitcher this year. Certainly looked the part so far. 2.18 ERA, 5 runs in 20 innings, 1 walk, 24 strikeouts in 20.2 innings. That's amazing. Great amount of swings and misses you get from Barrios. Carrasco had 1 really rough outing, but other than that, he's been pretty good. First outing against Seattle wasn't really good, but he's bounced back very well in 2 starts since then. But Kansas City and Detroit, those lineups aren't great by any stretch of the imagination. Minnesota, we know they've shown the ability at times to hit the baseball. In fact, 3 of their last 4 wins, they've scored 4 runs or more in the 3 victories. So it's going to be a test here for Carrasco. I'm going to take a shot with Minnesota here. I really like Barrios. I like getting the small underdog price with him here at about plus 110 in this game. I also like the fact that, again, you got Barrios pitching close to home. You got to expect there's going to be some kind of turnout of family and friends supporting him in this ball game tonight. And let's be honest, Cleveland's not monsters. They sometimes scuffle at the plate, especially when facing good pitching. Their road record, I know this is not a true road game. It's like you got to treat it like a football neutral field kind of game or a basketball neutral court kind of game. But Cleveland's got to show me they can win away from home more consistently against good pitching. So for me, guys, I'm on the Minnesota side here. I'll take a shot with the Twinkies here, plus $110.
Okay, liking the Twins there, plus 110. And I think baseball did kind of a great job as far as setting this up. They got Barrios from Puerto Rico and Carrasco, another Latin pitcher. I think he's from Venezuela. So a lot of fanfare there. It looked like a good atmosphere last year, so it should be a good game, 7:10 Eastern time. We got one, the late nighter here. Used to be called the Degenerate Special. We'll wait until a little bit later in the summer, maybe CFL season, definitely by football season to bring that back. But we'll call it the late nighter for now. We got 925, 926, Boston, LA. Porcello versus Skaggs in the American League, 8 the total, -120, -122, depending where you shop on SBR odds right now. Ian, we'll start off with you. Boston, LA. How you looking to bet it, man?
Yeah, the LA Angels, one of the big stories of the Major League Baseball season. This red-hot start they've had, a lineup that 1 through 9 has been really hitting the ball well. Calhoun, Pujols, Trout struggled early, but he's gotten it going lately. Of course, Shohei Ohtani, the sensation hitting-wise, had been the sensation pitching-wise until last night when he got absolutely drubbed by the Boston Red Sox in this series opener and only lasted 2 innings, pulled out of that start early. 10-1 win for the Boston Red Sox, who have been, just incredible offensively. I mean, 14-2, and a big part of it has been that offense, which is just blistering, averaging 6.1 runs per game so far this season. Has Tyler Skaggs figured it out? That's the big question to me, because this is a guy that's been battling stints on the DL, consistently getting hurt, consistently having command and control and walk problems in the past, and just never really to fully put it together. But the Angel lefty, 1.69 ERA through 3 starts, 3 runs allowed in 16 innings. The strikeouts are there, which you like to see. The walks, better. I think he could still even get better with the control, but it's at least better than he's done in the past. So positive signs for Skaggs here. Porcello, he's been very good. 1.83 ERA, 1 walk, 17 strikeouts. You got 2 guys in good form here. This is a game where it could stay under the total. I don't think either bullpen's in horrendous shape by any stretch of the imagination. The Angels last night worked a little bit. Maybe a first 5 under makes a little bit more sense here in this game. But right now it's 2 pitchers playing well, 2 teams for the most part playing well. And Angels hit a speed bump last night, obviously, but not much of an opinion here. Maybe a first 5 under lean, though, for me.
Okay, yeah, no, you bring up a good point. I mean, out west, in April, we're getting an 8 as a total. Donnie, do you agree with that as far as looking towards the under?
You know what? It's a good point, Ian. I have my my play of the week that I'm going to use on this game, but I won't say exactly where I'm going to go here. It might, I'm going to take a little bit of plus money on this, but we won't diverge in this. But both of these pitchers, and again, it's early on. You only have limited stats to work off with, but they're the only stats we're going to be able to use. Both these pitchers showing up pretty well early in the season. Skaggs, I like to look at weighted on base average, and if anybody uses that term there, it's how much are you doing with your at bat? Runners in scoring position. Are you just coming up? If you're Giancarlo Stanton and it's 9-2 and you hit a solo blast, everybody has a lot of fun, but what are you doing in situations that actually matter? Weighted on base average for Skaggs versus lefties is a 212 average versus righties is 264. He hasn't given up a home run this season, so no free round trips, no 3-run bombs given up. That should help us there. First time through the order. Here's the caveat here with Skaggs. He gives up an average of 300. It's actually 304 is his batting average to the batters that he's giving up first time around, but sort of shuts the door at a little bit below a 100 average to his second time around. So sort of gets it figured out, which usually the opposite. Usually can surprise somebody the first time through and then they catch up to you. It's the exact opposite. If we're looking at Porcello here, his weighted on base average to lefties is only 0.180. And then if we're looking at righties, a 234 average. So not a lot of swings in this game look like they're going to go too far. And also with Rick Porcello, no home runs giving up on the year this time. A K rate for Porcello of 37.5%. With runners in scoring position. Why does that stat make sense? Think of all the times, folks, that you bet games out there and there's a runner on third base and it's not a strikeout pitcher. Just put the ball in play. Let's get a run home. If you're striking out over a third of those batters, that's less balls in play to drive that runner home. I do like this game, and I agree with Ian here, more likely to go under, and also even under in the first 4 innings. This game was 8.5 earlier. It's now sitting at 8 across the board, so a lot of people agree with me and Ian, but I do have another angle that I'm going to use a little bit later in the show for my play of the day. But if you're asking me right now, I like the under in this game, Ian. I just think with both of these pitchers, with a blowout last night, I think it comes back down to reality. Maybe a 4-3 type ball game here.
So both, kind of everybody leaning towards the under. So that's
interesting to see too quickly if we get a letdown from the Red Sox tonight. I mean, you got to be jacked up to face Shohei Ohtani, all the accolades and all the attention he's gotten, and you absolutely crush the guy. You win big 10-1. Are you ready to really bring it big time tonight for the second game of this series after a big time win like that? I think there's a potential little bit of a letdown scenario in play here for Boston tonight. We'll see if they're able to withstand that.
Guys, we got best bets coming up, but first, try to throw in a new little, I guess, section here. Favorite sport to bet and why? Mr. Rightside, let's start with you, man. I know you're a big college football guy, NFL guy as well. Get into basketball, also baseball. So which one do you recommend for maybe a new sports bettor to kind of concentrate on, all things equal, maybe to get an edge on the books? And what's your favorite sport to bet, man?
Yeah, a lot of people tell me all the time, there's no way you can beat the NFL. I have a good time beating the NFL and a lot of fun doing it. And the thing I like about betting the NFL is I can enjoy the games. Like I can actually sit there and watch from the first kickoff all the way through the end of the game and not have a full-blown panic attack. If you guys follow me throughout the years here on the channels or on Twitter, I love college basketball. I just don't love watching college basketball with the team I bet on. It's not any fun for me. A lot of people are obviously on the same side as I am, and I find myself quite a bit if the line is -3 and my team hits a 3-ball to go up 5 points with 5 minutes to go, damn near shut the TV off and go out and take the dog for a walk because of the stress. I love betting professional baseball throughout the summer because it's easier. You can watch it from pitch to pitch. There's not a lot of, stress and struggle in that environment. But to me, the NFL, I can actually wager on the game, enjoy the game fully, rant and rave, but never turn it off and never get it too much pressure. The best sport for me to bet, the NFL and college football. I really enjoy watching those. College basketball, as much as I love the game, I would rather watch a game I don't bet on. It's just way too much stress for me.
And Donnie, you bring up college football and NFL. I'm guessing your favorite. Is that because you played football, so you understand it more and you feel like you can get an advantage that way? Or are there other reasons behind it?
Yeah, there's something to be with that. And also, I'm a firm believer in, look, folks, we have college basketball, right? They're going to play 2 to 3 games a week. They're going to be on heavy travel schedules. They got to deal with class. If we're taking a look at the NBA, sometimes they're on back-to-back trips in different cities. Some guys go out, drink some Hennessy the night before it's somebody's birthday. Oh, we're playing the Atlanta Hawks. We'll throttle them, but, we'll take it easy on them out there. When you're looking at college football in the NFL, the reason why I like to bet it so much is there's 1 game per week. Nobody's lollygagging. The players aren't, maybe there are some of them. A couple years ago, the guy at the center went to Tijuana instead of playing for the Oakland Raiders the night before the Super Bowl. But you really don't get that. They're hunkered in. You know what I mean? They're hunkered in the hotels. The game plan is set in motion all week long. You can mix and match that game. You're going to get the best effort inside and out, typically in college football and also with the professional football, because it's only 1 game. So you have all week to study the lines, all week to look at some tape, all week to read injury reports, because you don't get them in the other sports. How many times did you bet an NBA game or a college basketball game at 6:59 before they tipped off in college? By the way, starting point guard's out tonight because he has a rib injury, or he was suspended because he broke some team rules. Doesn't typically happen that much in college football or NFL. I just think it's a little bit easier to game plan for because, again, it's 1 week, and I think you know what you're going to get each week.
Yeah, I like that point, Donnie. I mean, football, it's 1 week. You can prepare for it. You can do a lot of research. And in basketball and in baseball even, you'll get the flu-like symptoms, coming out a couple hours before the game. We all know what that means. How much is their head really into it? Yeah, it could be flu-like symptoms. Or it could be, they got after the bottle the night before and just not their top-notch self. But Ian, we got a couple guys chiming in here. Giorgio saying soccer is the best sport to bet. Also, we got Artez saying NHL and WNBA. Interesting there, kind of a niche sport with the WNBA. Ian, I know you're into some niche sports, maybe the CFL, not necessarily the NHL, but what is your favorite sport to bet and why?
Yeah, there's a bunch. There's a bunch that I've had multiple winning seasons in that have been documented. NHL, NFL, college football, college basketball. They're all been good, but there is absolutely nothing that stands the test of time for me year in and year out than the CFL, the Canadian Football League for me. Clearly, hands down, my #1 favorite sport to bet, clearly my most profitable sport to bet, and it's that way year in and year out. And it's really simple. I mean, it's a small 9-team league. There's less teams to have to research up and focus on. You just get a better sense of everything because it's just such a condensed, smaller league with much fewer amount of teams. Coverage in Canada is great. Every single game is on. There's even preseason games that are on. You get a glimpse of who's looking good in training camps and all that. You get good coverage of it here in this country. Even now in the States, you're getting some games on the ESPN networks the last few years. And more importantly than all of that, the biggest factor to why I'm able to just, to be honest, crush the CFL year in and year out, it is because of the fact that the odds makers are fast asleep. They're not looking into the things that I'm looking into. They're not figuring out, a quarterback change here. A big key offensive lineman injury there. The best secondary cornerback on one team's out. They're not paid. You couldn't tell. The odds makers in Vegas could not name one cornerback in the CFL. Could probably not name one offensive lineman in the CFL. Well, guess what? I know about all of those guys, all of those positions, and I've got that massive edge big time in the CFL over odds makers that just can't price and do not price games properly anywhere close to where I feel they should be priced in a lot of instances from either a side or total perspective. So If you've been on CFL service with me for years, a $100 better's up over $3,100. That's not by accident. This is a sport I put time into and have greater knowledge over odds makers in a big way in and year out. So for me, guys, Drew, CFL, easily number one favorite sport to bet, most profitable sport to bet for me.
Yeah, Ian, I've followed you for years, man. Hats off to you. I've never seen a guy win in a sport like you have in that sport. So, yeah, that's a tough follow right there. But yeah,
I don't
hats
know.
off to you.
Big man in college basketball this year is pretty damn close. Pretty damn close.
Yeah, I don't know. The ball kind of bounced
He's
my
in a
way.
bad
Also, you bring that up. I mean, as far as college basketball, I mean, big man on campus. He didn't make this show because of internet issues, but he had a hell of a year in college basketball on Twitter. So, we need to give him some props too. But Donnie, on what Ian said about the CFL, have you followed CFL at all? And when you bet it, do you see some of the things that Ian was pointing towards being an advantage against the books?
No, like I don't really pay attention that much to the CFL. When we have NFL, college football, it's hard enough for me to wrap myself around the actual rules of the NFL, even though I've been following it my entire life. And they're going to change again, so I'm sure I'll be reading up and watching nonsense weeks 1, 2, and 3 next year when nobody knows what the hell still a catch is, or if anybody puts their head down, it's a 15-yard penalty. So I'm more wrapped up in that. But also, it's hard for me to get. Like, I actually wish the CFL was more towards the NFL time frame. Like, because it's just a natural progression. Because even for me, it's hard to talk a lot of NFL in July and in early August, because there's still a lot of baseball going on. That's what I have my head wrapped around. If the CFL was in line with college football and also the NFL in the fall, I'd probably be much more inclined to do that because I'm in that football mindset. The fact that the CFL for me comes into the summer, it's sort of an afterthought. And again, we live in the United States. It's not heavily prevalent. It's not if you're going to sit down and it's going to be on NBC or just one of the channels you click on there. But it looks like a great sport they have. I know Ian does do very well in that sport. And it is football. So football across the world, I'm going to be supportive of. It comes at a hard time for me to get involved with.
Yeah, it is an exciting sport of football too. Like it's more kind of offensive geared with only 3 downs. They can have more movement. What are the other rule changes that CFL has towards the NFL, Ian?
I love the CFL for the 3 downs, and I love it. I love 4-down football too. I mean, I really do. But I like the thing I like about the 3-down brand of football in the CFL is you can't lollygag on first down. You can't twiddle your thumbs on first down. You can't pick your nose on first down. You got to make a productive play now on first down in the CFL. You got to gain positive yards because you got to set yourself in second and manageable. Because suddenly, if you're in second and long, you're up against it trying to convert a first down and keep the chains moving and keep the ball in your possession. So it puts a lot more emphasis on having a good, solid play on first down. Whereas in the NFL and college, if you only gain a yard in first down in the NFL or college, you can live with that because you got 2 more downs to play with. If you have a good second down play to keep you in third and short, you're still probably in good shape. You're still ahead of the chains. But in the CFL, you got to make some magic happen on first down or else you're in trouble offensively.
And we got Guan in the chat box saying Donnie's the GOAT of NFL betting. Yeah, I mean, Donnie, the best NFL bettor I know. And we got Ian, the best CFL bettor I know. So good talent here. And guys, as far as my favorite,
if you want football winning on either side of the border, you've got the right guys here.
Yes, basically,
yeah.
Absolutely, man. Got Canada, USA, Costa Rica covered. As far as my favorite sport, I would go mix of college basketball just because there's so many games on the board. When you talk about a college basketball Saturday, like Ian was saying, the odds makers asleep. I don't know if they're asleep or they just can't handle it. There's just so many games to keep up with that it's just kind of like one of those things. The market is just inefficient, so that's what I like to take advantage of in college basketball. Obviously, you get lower limits, so you can't bet as much. But, for a lot of people, including myself, it's not really a problem because you can rebet at a lot of these books like Bet Online. You can go in there, bet 250, wait 60 seconds, bet 250 again if you really like a side. So that's why I like college basketball. And to Donnie's point on the NFL and college football, I really like college football. One, because of my interest in, I played it as a kid, played it in high school. Yep. And really being able to break down, especially in college football, how a quarterback can kind of read and how athletic he is and how accurate he is against the opposing defensive line. If you really dig into that in some of the smaller conferences in particular, I think you can get an advantage on the odds makers, not necessarily asleep, but it's just a lot for them to keep up with. So I think you can get a half a point, upwards of 2 points of value in that. So I like college football and college basketball. Guys, talking about best bets, we've been good 60% on the year as a total. I guess we're only going to go with 3 best bets. Not sure how we're going to do the big man on campus best bet, or if we should just go 3 best bets. Probably leaning towards 3 to avoid confusion. So yeah, we'll start off with Ian Cameron. Find him on Twitter at Babano. His work at sportsmemo.com. Ian, which way you going for best bets this week, man?
Yeah, before best bet, I mean, we mentioned it in the chat there. Someone asked how long was the CFL around. This is actually a special year for the CFL. The 2018 season will be their 60th anniversary season, 60th season for the league. 1958 it started. So it's a big year for the CFL. I think they'll be doing some special things, special events to commemorate 60 years of the league being in existence. So looking forward to seeing what they've got planned in terms of that. But best bet for me, guys, we're going to go right back to one of the games we talked about in the breakdowns of the MLB card. Let's go right back to Jose Berrios here in the Minnesota Twins. I like the situation. I like the way he's pitching right now. I like the setup where he's pitching so close to home. Carrasco, he's been very good too for the Cleveland Indians, but I don't trust the Cleveland lineup fully. I'm still seeing them having some same issues they had last year at times, not hitting all that consistently with runners in scoring position. That's where you need to have the big base hit to cash some of those guys and bring them in. Don't always see that from this Cleveland team, and I think they're going to be hard pressed to come up with those clutch hits tonight facing a pitcher the caliber of Jose Berrios, and I like the price as well. So let's go with the Minnesota Twins here, plus 111. Best price out there at Heritage Sports, plus 111 on the Minnesota Twins. That'll be my best bet on the round table this week.
All right, Ian, on Minnesota plus 11 down there in Puerto Rico. We got Donnie. Best bets, we got 60% as a group on the year. Find him on Twitter at RightSideVP. His work at DonnieRightside.com. Donnie, what do you got for best bets this week, man?
Yeah, let's go back to 925, 926. We're going to go Boston and the LA Angels of Anaheim. I'm going to dip into my bag. We're going to go with a little bit of a dog play here, and it's going to be in the first 5 innings, as we talked a little bit earlier there. Skaggs is a pretty good pitcher, but here's the key ingredient that we're going to look at. The first time through the lineup that I did say, he's giving up, a 304 batting average there. So maybe Boston can sneak a run or two across the line on him before, he settles down when he gets through the second part of the lineup at a .086 average. The reason being I'm going to go with this is, A, it's plus money. I like it early in the season. But also, if we take a look from an angle of Rick Porcello, first 2 times, folks, through the lineup, a 154 average. So not given too much, not even given an inch at this point. And also, I brought up earlier the stat line there, 35% of his strikeouts coming with a man with a man in scoring position to try to keep that down. I'm looking for maybe a 2-1, maybe a 3-1 winner after 5 innings. I was going to give out the under in the game, 4.5 over the first 5, because I do think it's going to be a little bit lower scoring, but that line's no longer available. It's now down to 4, so I won't give that out. I got the play first 5 innings money line, Rick Porcello and the Boston Red Sox at plus 110, but currently sits right now at plus 105. So for the show, we'll go with the plus 105 money line, Red Sox. First 5 innings, plus 105.
All right, Donnie, Boston, first 5 innings, money line, plus 105. I'll follow that up with Texas tonight, plus 100. Cole Hamels on the hill, back in the Rangers. So we got all plus money bets. We got Minnesota, Ian, plus 111, Boston, plus 105 from Donnie, myself, plus 100 on the Texas Rangers. Got Steve in the chat box, Dean saying great show, excellent show. We appreciate that, guys. Ian, Donnie really brought it today. I appreciate all the information. I know the watchers do as well. Great betting information. Follow Ian on Twitter at Babano. Follow Donnie on Twitter at RightSideVP. I'm Drew Martin. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck.